Wake up, truck.
Alright guys, in the last video we got my dad's Pimp My Ride truck back together and on all four wheels. Well, temporary wheels I should say. It's at least running and driving, but not for long. Today, Josh is going to be working in the engine bay here. What do you got for us, Josh?
Tune-up stuff. So, plugs, wires, cap, rotor, PCV valve, oil change. And then we're going to dig in and adjust the valves. Toyota wants to do that every 60,000. Who knows if it's been done. But it also has a leak out of the valve cover, so we're going in there anyways. Alright,
while he's doing that, I'm going to hop into the interior here and start figuring out placement for speaker boxes, the VO switch panel on the dash, and maybe start messing with the radio while I'm in there. There's also some storage stuff that I want to figure out behind the seat. So, let's get started.
Okay, got all the plugs out. Definitely have some wear on them. They're kind of old. Same thing with the cap and rotor. Before I took the cap off, I numbered the firing order for which plug wires go where. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can just do the same thing, number it on this cap, and then I'll know exactly where those plug wires go, which plug they go to, and which length to go with on which one. The plugs and wires are all changed. That's good. The next thing is going to be the PCV valve. The issue is this thing's been in here so long and this rubber has turned to plastic. It's hard and it won't come out, so we're going to have to try and pry it out.
Don't break it!
Might need your help.
That looks really tough. It's so tough that the whole truck is moving backwards.
Might have to heat that with a heat gun to soften it back up, but it might destroy it.
That is pretty hard.
Yeah. I'm assuming that was rubber at one time. Okay, we're going to hold off on the PCV valve for now. Got a new OEM grommet on the way, along with the plug wire separator. So the next thing to do is going to be adjust the valves, put a new valve cover gasket on. To do that, you got to bring the engine up to operating temperature, that gets all the metal expanded so that when you clearance the valves, they're going to be the right clearance once the engine warms up. But let's see what Matt's doing.
I got all kinds of cool stuff going on back here. Okay, this is what my dad had behind the seat before. He really loves his maps. Paper maps. So, this was behind the seat, but I wanted something better than that. So I found him this. It didn't, it was a little bit wide for the seat, but it worked perfect for the back panel here because there was previously nothing there. It's just a metal panel. So that's gonna reduce sound, but it's also gonna give them all kinds of pouches. You got pouches, pouches, pouches. You got storage bags, top, middle, bottom. This bottom one even comes off. You can zip that off and take it with you if you want. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I got another one off of Amazon. This is a cheaper one. Most of them are really cheap like this. That's why I really liked this one. But this one just goes on the back of the seat. And I got some little clips there. So we've got the dash out. We're going to start working on the radio, but while we've got that out, we also need something to power all of the lights and accessories that we've got. So we've got the VO switch here. This is a universal one. We do sell these on the website, but what I want to do is, I really couldn't find a good place to put this anywhere other than right here to the left of the steering wheel, and it's got a little ball that you can put on there so you can kind of adjust it, but I think it's going to look better if we mount it directly to the dash. So I've drilled some holes here. We need to drill a bigger hole here to put the wire through, and that's going to look very factory and flush with the dash panel. Okay, there it is. So these are blank right now, but we'll be able to put these little stickers on them when we hook them up to our lights. And you've got an assortment: transmission fan, camera, lights, rock lights, whatever you want there. Even Sasquatch. Sasquatch is a good one. That makes Sasquatch appear on the road around you. And then this is a plug and play system. So this is going to plug into here, and then we'll be able to mount this. I think we're going to mount this in the back, but it's a fuse and relay box, and then it's just plug and play. Whatever you want to connect into there, say a light, then whenever you hit this switch, the light will come on. You don't have to worry about doing your own fuses, your own relays. It's all just plug and play. So that makes wiring everything up really nice and quick. On my dad's Toyota, that is broken. Luckily, we've got another one just sitting out here in the woods. And I also picked up one of these little guys. That's like a blocking plate for a button. Perfect. See how that one's broken? And here is the fresh one. It's gonna go right there. And then this little guy. You guys remember the Nokia brick phones? I'm 99% sure that went with that, and it popped right in there, and it held your little Nokia brick phone there, and he glued that right onto this. So I was able to pop that out, put a new one in. Josh is in here working on a new stereo system.
Yes, sir.
Man, that looks factory.
Yeah.
I got this double-din Kenwood system, but it's obviously nicer than what would have come with it. It's got the Bluetooth and the Sirius and all the things, but
It's got a big knob.
the one thing that I wanted the most was a knob. I hate it whenever you're driving along and you just want to turn up the volume, but you got to search or go through the menu just to do that. So this, you just go.
He is going to be able to Bluetooth to it. Use hands-free.
You say that, but no, he's not. He's not going to be able to do that. But he'll be able to listen to the radio and play CDs. All right, check this out. We have those switches. Nicely done into the dash. We have radio. Okay, crank her up.
Yeah, sounds great. Alright, so we're getting ready to do the valve adjustment, replace the valve cover gasket. Pull it outside to bring it up to operating temperature, so when we adjust the valves, they're adjusted correctly. So we'll take it out, let it sit and run. Then we can work on a really hot engine. That's always really fun.
All right. Nice and toasty. This cover should be ready to come off now.
Pretty much took a bunch of pictures. That way you know right where everything goes back. You just refer to pictures. That's a good tip. Unhooked everything and laid it off to the side. Now the cover's loose, but we're going to run into clearance issues with the heater hoses. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Now we're just going to set it at top dead center, and we'll be able to adjust 2 of the intake valves and 2 of the exhaust valves, and then we'll rotate it 180 and do the other 4 hot. Putting it at top dead center is pretty easy. There is a timing mark on the crank pulley, and then there's a little scale, and you just align that mark with the 0 on the little scale that sticks out. I took and marked them with paint marker so they're easy to see.
Right there.
You wanted to figure out for sure, well, which one of these are loose will tell you, but you can always pull the distributor cap off, and if the rotor's pointed to the number 1, then it's at top dead center on number 1. So I was right. This is intake valves on this side, exhaust valves on this side towards the exhaust. Makes sense. The intake valves are towards the intake. And it is 8 thousandths. That play right there is what you're looking for. 8 thousandths and 12 thousandths.
How do you know which one to start with?
Doesn't matter.
The ones that are loose. Okay.
Yes. So if you go to LC Engineering, they do a lot of Toyota stuff. They have a good write-up on how to adjust the valves, and it's pretty simple. So first thing we're going to do is to check it and see if it even needs adjusted. We can slip on this feeler gauge. So that feels a little tight to me. Can't get it in that one.
So the ones that are loose, there should be 2 that are tight. Is that correct? Which ones are the tight ones?
These 2 are the tight ones.
And that means what?
That means you'll get those when you rotate at 180. Then they'll be loose. So these 2 are tight on this side, or loose on this side, and this one are loose on this side. Then when you rotate at 180, it'll be the opposite.
Gotcha.
So that one's good. That one's 8 thousandths. This one's just a tad bit tight. It won't take much. That's it right there. Then you just hold your set screw in the middle and tighten the nut. And check it again. Perfect.
Intake side was 8 thousandths. Exhaust side is 12.
It's 12, yep. That one is a touch tight. So is that one.
Seems to me like they would get looser over time, not tighter.
Yeah, me too. Maybe the last time they were adjusted cold. If they were adjusted, I assume they were, since it's on the scheduled maintenance list. Since Toyota has a recommendation, then I would think your dad probably did it. Torque to spec.
Good and tight?
Good and tight. That one's good. This is hot, so if you actually have feeling in your hands, you may want to wear gloves.
Alright, so you just did 4.
Did 4 of
And
them.
then we're going to rotate at 180 and we're going to do the other 4.
Yep.
And then it'll be finished.
Then it'll be finished. And it's no wonder this valve cover is leaking. The nuts, the hold downs, they weren't even tight.
Oh, really?
No.
These guys here?
Yeah.
Right about there.
Alright, so now we should have that one loose, and that one loose, and that one loose, and that one loose. Tight, tight.
Alright, so same process now that we've rotated 180. And we'll get those adjusted and then valve cover back on in a second here. So 2 of these 6x9s are going to go behind this bag, and they're going to mount up to the back wall. It's not going to be ideal, but it'll be better than what he had before. And with the limited space in this truck, I think that's good enough. Check out how clean that is. Josh got the sandblaster after that. And then I got the wire wheel on this part to make it shiny. And it's ready to go back in. Alright, let's see if she starts up after all that. Are you sure you have everything together?
Yep.
Is there motor oil in it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, it runs. rat turds or something. It does shake a lot trying to start up, but I'm assuming it did that before. The Toyota thing.
One more time, how's that go?
Like that.
That's as good as it gets. Those are new motor mounts. So.
Yeah. Alright, well let me show you what else we've been working on today. We got these little doodads. My dad had some tan ones. We replaced those to kind of color match. We've been working on getting some of the bulbs. A lot of these bulbs in here weren't working, so we've been ordering those. Josh got the amp mounted, but it's back there. You can't see it, but it works. The speakers back here, they work, but they're kind of muffled. But they're going to provide the bass, so that's not terrible. We don't have the speakers yet up there. And what else have we been working on? Just little piddly stuff. Little piddly things.
Bushings in the back end. You've been figuring out secret stuff.
I had. Oh yeah. Yes. Secret stuff. I got these things mounted up. I was trying to figure out how to make the front and the back look similar, and instead of having this big old ugly cap thing going on there, I just figured out how to get the hubs, which these won't be operational. But you can play with them if you like.
How did you do that?
It's magic. No, I drilled and tapped the axle shaft, and then there's a bolt going through, and I made a big giant fender washer with a bolt inside there that holds that in place. And yeah, so the original was like a big old cap, and it sticks out like almost to the edge of the wheel. I did not like that. And then on the front, it's not the same, because on the front you can't have that because you have the lockout. So the front has to have either no cap or some kind of cap that comes out and just has a hole in it, which I thought is terrible. So I figured might as well have both the front and the rear look exactly the same. So I think that'll look a lot better.
Okay guys, so today is the day we're going to start what's probably the biggest job on this truck, on redoing this truck, and that's the body work. We're just kind of run out of little piddly things to do for the moment. So it's not bad. I mean, it's a really nice truck, but there are some, especially back on the bed, some little dents and dings. We're going to get all those off. I would have liked to have given this thing a good bath first, but unfortunately it's really cold out today and we didn't get it done beforehand, so I'm just gonna have to kind of wipe down with the wax and grease remover as I go. You don't really want to grind wax and grease down into what you're sanding, because you're grinding it down into the paint, and that's what you're going to be putting other coatings over, be it primer or more paint. But the first thing I need to do is these fender flares that Matt so lovingly put on. They got to get off of here. And then I'm going to do a walk around, take a marker, circle all the things that need attention, and clean and start working on taking out dents. Some little rust spots here. Have to get rid of those too. Okay, so I got all the fender flares off. I used a racer wheel, which you saw before, and went around and got all the glue off from the old fender flares that was still there. And so now we're just going to use some wax and grease remover and just going to wipe down the whole bed. Do not use brake clean for this. Brake clean has petroleum solvents in it. Paint doesn't like to stick to it. Also, anything like lacquer thinner that's pretty harsh, while it'll work, it can melt the wax and grease into the paint. So use an actual wax and grease remover to do this. Wax on, wax off. All right, I've got them all marked. So the next thing I'm gonna do is all these ones that are just small dings, I don't necessarily need to go down to bare metal. So I'm gonna take a grinder with a flat disc, which will take it down to bare metal, but I just wanna kind of rough it up right in the meat of the ding. Down here where there's a little bit of rust, you can get all that rust off with this. And then I'm gonna come back with the DA with sandpaper on it and do the area out around it. That way when I use the filler, because these dings don't need to try to pull them out, just use filler. There's nothing wrong with filler. Some people call it Bondo. Bondo is just a brand name. We're not gonna try to pull these dings out, just gonna fill them. Safety glasses. Okay, that's about it with the grinder. Really just trying to make a rough enough surface for the filler to bite onto. Now we'll come back and rough up this area around it. Okay, now I'm gonna mix up the filler. This hadn't been used for a while, so kind of need to stir it up. Don't want to do too much. One, because these are just dings, they're not gonna take much. But two, it'll harden up. If you try to use a lot of it and do everything at once, it'll harden up before you get it all on there. You just wind up wasting a bunch. Have our hardener. So then we'll just mix this up real good until it all turns blue. You don't see any gray anymore. We want to try to stick to the spot and go as thin as possible. Because sometimes this stuff can be hard to sand off. I hate sanding, so the less sanding I have to do, the better. And I'll pretty much do it all with the DA. Once you get used to sanding with the DA. If you're good with it, you just about don't need to block anything out afterwards. So we're gonna let that harden up. I probably will go around to the other side and start grinding things down just to get that out of the way. And then 15 minutes or so, this should be ready to sand down, and we'll see where we're at, whether it's ready for the icing, the glaze, because we're gonna get little pinholes and stuff in this, and so the next coating will make sure everything's perfectly smooth and ready for primer. Okay, this next dent I got here is a little deeper. It's not one I want to fill, and it's not one I can easily get to from the back side to hammer and dolly it out. So what I'm going to use is the stud gun, and you can get these from Harbor Freight. That's where this one's from. And basically what it does is it welds this little copper stud into the dent. You got to pick where you want it. You don't necessarily want to try to put it in the middle and pull the whole thing out at once. It doesn't work that way. But it'll weld, and then you just put it in this slide hammer and pop it out. And you don't want to go crazy with the stud gun here either, because it will melt a hole or burn right through it. Just enough so that it's welded in there. And you might have to do this a couple times. Thumb wheel there that locks it in, and just nice and gentle. What you don't want to do is start bringing the dent back out so that you have a bubble. Really what you're looking for is to get it to a decent place to use filler. Then you'll just take a cutoff wheel, or nippers I guess would work too,
but I just use a cutoff wheel, cut these off, and then hit it with the grinder. Feel it if you like the way it is, and I can tell that this is going to be good enough right here to where I can just use some filler on it and move on to the next one. All right, this filler's been on here for about 20 minutes or so. It's pretty much the whole way cured. It's pretty hard. I like to get to it before it gets super hard. Once it sits for a few hours, it gets a lot harder to sand. So right now is when it's nice and easy to sand. I'm gonna hit it with 80 grit just to kind of knock it down. And then once I get it close to where I want it, I'm gonna switch over to 180. So this just kind of makes it go faster and easier to hit it with the 80 grit first. In a curve like that, I'm gonna want to use a block, but I can still get it close with the DA. That's the 80. Wear a mask. You don't want to breathe this stuff. It's nasty. And don't oversand. Right there is pretty good. You want to feather the edges out. It can be really easy to oversand. All right, so I've been working my way around the truck. Got the first stages done on the passenger side now. I did have to do some more pulling with the stud gun and a little bit of hammering for these areas right here. These were the worst dents on the truck. Got the tailgate pretty close. Had to do another coat of the filler here and here because it didn't quite get smooth, but the rest is ready for the icing. So the next thing I'm gonna do, go over pretty much any area that's gonna get primer, which be from here up kind of the whole way forward with 400 on the DA. Then I'll keep working my way around with the icing until it's all ready for primer, and then I'll figure out where I'm gonna shoot primer because I have no paint booth. Goal here is to have no shining left. Okay, moving right along. The tailgate is ready for the icing. This bedside is all ready, except for right here. There was a high spot, so I just dinged it down a little bit, and we'll come back and fill it with some more filler, some ice, maybe a little more filler right in here. I feel a little low spot right there. And then I went ahead and wiped down the hood. The hood, we had lots of stone chips. I wiped it down and sanded it. All those chips I've cleaned out in those. I went ahead and sanded. I said it before and I say it again. I hate sanding. I'm gonna take and mix up some filler and take care of those two spots back there. I'll go ahead and use the heavy filler on some of the big chips here. The rest of it I'll just knock out with the icing. Just a tiny little bit on these guys. I just got news that the lunch lady is here. Lunch lady!
Lunch lady is here!
Well, the lunch lady still made these. I just warmed them up.
Ah.
But, yeah.
So the Buddy's barbecue box is deceiving.
She's at her other job today. The Buddy's barbecue box is just for transportation all the way down the hill.
Nice.
Okay guys, while Josh is working on paint prep, I'm going to polish up these shifters. These are one of my dad's favorite things about this truck, I think, but they're raw aluminum. You can see how disgusting they are. So we're going to use a DA and some sandpaper. We're going to start off with some coarse and then work our way up to finer and finer sandpaper. So I've got some like 500, 1000, and 2000. You're also going to need some sort of polisher wheel. So let's put this sandpaper on a pad. I've got a soft pad on there because this thing has a lot of different angles and I want to be able to get into those nooks and crannies. We're going to start off by sanding out all of the scratches. So what you want to do is start off with a sandpaper that is coarse enough to get out all the scratches that it currently has in it, and then you're going to work your way up with different grades of sandpaper. So we're working our way from 400 or 600 all the way up to 2000, and then you're going to need one of these polishing wheels, and you're going to need some rouge, and they make different rouges for different applications. I'm just using whatever I've got here, and that is really going to add the final touch, is whenever you put that rouge on the polisher and then you polish that sucker up. It's basically like a super fine sandpaper, and that'll give it a nice clean look to it. Then I'm going to wipe that off a little bit. I should actually put some liquid polish on there as well before I put it on. And look how clean and shiny those are, from that raw finish to this nice clean look. Man, that's bright. Check it out, guys. I've got all of the parts that I'm going to have powder coated. I'm going to take these to the powder coaters and see what they can do for us. So when these come back, they're going to look a lot different. I've got bumpers, I've got Nerf bars, I've got the 2-inch receiver, I've got the valence, I've got the wheels, I've got the bull bar thing. So we're going to make it look spiffy. Oh, and the roof rack. Okay, I got the powder coat pieces all dropped off. Josh, what are you up to?
I am priming.
Look at this. It's all taped off. Everything is good to go for primer. What's the plan?
Prime it, sand it. I may need to prime it and sand it again, but we'll see.
How do you know if it's good work?
You'll be able to see. Once we shoot the primer on it, you'll be able to see if there's any waves in it, but also have guide coat to put on when we block it out.
So what's the purpose of the primer now, instead of just taking it to the painter and saying, here you go?
Well, there's still scratches in it. There might still be low spots or high spots. That's what we're going to find. Plus it covers up any bare metal. The primer will cover up all the work areas. Otherwise, if you were to just spray paint on it, you would see the edge on all of those spots. You would see all that.
Okay, and then what is the block coat or whatever you said?
The guide coat.
The guide coat?
Powder, or you can get it as a spray. You put it on, and then as you're blocking it out with your block, if there's any low spots, that spot will stay black.
I want to see that. You guys want to see that? So first step.
There's not going to be any low spots. Our work is impeccable.
Okay. First step, primer.
First step, primer.
Don't mess up.
Not priming the whole thing, just kind of spot priming.
All these little Bondo spots make this truck look like it was in bad shape, but it was in really good shape. Just little dings here and there. That's what all the spots is that he's priming over now. I think it's good to go. We can just give it back to my dad like that. Perfect. There you go. You know what I just thought of? It's gonna be really hard to drive that up onto the trailer.
Not being able to see.
Being blind. I'll just sit in there with a walkie-talkie and you tell me left or right, okay? Alright, so this has been drying overnight, the primer. We're gonna take it today to the paint shop and get a quote on getting this thing painted. The windshield has been put on and just taped in place for going down the highway, but I can't see anything in there to drive this up on the trailer, so that's gonna be interesting. Okay, here we go. I got a little peephole here. Okay, well that was frightening. Now let's go to the paint shop. Okay, we're gonna have to pause on this Toyota for a second. My daughter called this morning and she said that her car was beeping at her and telling her to pull over immediately. So I grabbed the truck, I grabbed the trailer, went and picked up her car. This is it. It's a Ford Focus, I think. And brought it back. Josh looked at it and said it's kaput. The motor's bad. So Hope and I really don't want to have to drive her around all the time. So Josh said that he can pick up a motor for $400. Really? Is that the case?
It's like $400.
$400 for a motor, a used motor, of course. But we need to get that situated before we continue on the truck. So let's knock that out quick. I said quick.
Quick.
Have the e-brake on. Let's try that again. Okay, we kind of just made a huge mistake there. I was assuming, and you know what they say about assumers. So what happened was we drove around all day long, and it's probably my fault. We should have called first, but I just assumed that this company that we dealt with in the past, who did some collision work for my wife's Jeep a long time ago, they did a great job, and I figured they've got a classic car in their logo. Surely they do paint jobs. Well, it turns out collision places don't do paint jobs anymore. They don't do full paint jobs, only collision work that the insurance is paying for. So we went to the first place. He said no and was pretty rude about it. So we looked up another place. We went there. They were out of business. We went to a third place, and that guy told us that no collision places do full paint jobs anymore because they just want that insurance money, and that there's not a single one in Knoxville. So other than a place like Mako or something, I'm not really sure what to do. But we do have a surprise for you guys. We are working on a way that we can do paint in-house. So in the next video, we're going to show you what that is. In the meantime, I got a little surprise in the mail the other day. Check this out. Now this is not sponsored, but I did go with bed slide. I know a lot of you guys had mentioned the decked system. Unfortunately, decked doesn't make a system for a 91 pickup. They only make things for like 2018 and up. And the way that those are custom fit to each bed, it just wouldn't worked out. I did try to get a hold of them though, but they did not respond. I went with bed slide. It was a cheaper option rather than trying to figure out if the deck system would work and just hoping and praying that it would. So instead, I know that this is going to work, and we're going to put this in the back. I've got all the options that go along with it. There's like little drawers and stuff that will bolt onto this thing. And that's going to allow my dad to get into the back of the bed without having to crawl in there. So that's going to be a pretty cool system. Let's see if we can get it up in there by myself. It's after 6:30. Josh is gone today, so let's see what we can do. Me and you, will you help me? Comes in pieces. I have to put it together as well. Look who's here to help me, the lunch lady.
Stop calling me that.
All right, so we got to get this in there. Can you help me with that?
I hope so.
All right.
Oh. Yeah. One.
Ask me that again.
Can I stand on it?
If you're under 1,000 pounds.
I'm pretty good about that one.
Alright, so obviously this is going to come back out again, but what I wanted to do was mark the holes. That way we can get everything ready for when it's assembly time. So I need to mark some holes, drill some holes, and this thing will be really cool. I've got, like I said, accessory boxes that go on the sides and on the back so that there'll be more storage space than just this tray, and it will hold 1,000 pounds. So that should hold quite a bit of gear, and it's really not that heavy. I'd say it's, what was that, like 150 pounds or something?
Yeah, probably.
Not too bad. Okay, I'm gonna pull this out. You stand on there.
Okay.
I was a little concerned about how much that would pull out because it's not a full 100%, but it's fine. You can still get right there just by standing off to the side. They do make a 100% pull out, but it was only for big trucks like 2500s and stuff. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it really slopes upward as it pulls out, and that's for two reasons: to help you get it back in, and two, there's some deflection in there. If you were to have 1,000 pounds of stuff on here, it's going to deflect and kind of even out, so that's why it kind of ramps up as it pulls out. And what I just noticed, which is pretty cool, there's the release right here, and when you let go of that, there's a brake, so it doesn't fully slow it down. And then there's locks every so often. If you want to lock it in, it'll hit one of those locks and stop itself. So if there's a lot of weight on here, I'd imagine if it got away from you, you just release that and it hits the brakes on it sliding too fast in. Cool?
Very cool.
All right, thanks for helping me, babe.
No problem. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We had a great time today. Thank you to all of our Patreons who help us get all of this going. And
tell them what our Patreons get.
They get like some background footage of what we do on a daily basis, some cool stuff that I send every once in a while, and
they get to see the videos early.
Oh yeah, they get to see the videos early. We're gonna have to do this again.
No, that's perfect.
No, that was not perfect. That was awful.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.
Just call me the lunch lady. Let's not do this anymore. You can call me the lunch lady if I never do this again.